सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. Welcome to Apna Radio broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday from 3 to 4, I'm here broadcasting from the studio to the world. Tune me in. सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday, I'm here until 4 o'clock and I trust and hope that you shall be there too until 4 o'clock. India time, 8:30 will be the finishing time. 7:30 is the starting time. And I hope the friends in India will be joining me there as well. And listening to my program. Today's program is again a packed program with news and, the economic series that we are doing at the moment. The second part of that we started last week with Sharad Awasthi, our London correspondent. So he'll be talking about the dire, situation that we are heading towards in India. But first thing first, I will take the news, and Charmain is here, and she's put together a beautiful news item. So, Charmain, you take it away, and I will come back to it. Thank you so much indeed.
Good afternoon, I'm Charmain Colvin, and here's your weekly news update on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, India and the US have made progress in the latest round of talks in New Delhi earlier this week on a bilateral trade deal with the focus on market access for industrial and some agricultural goods, tariff cuts and non-tariff barriers. Indian government sources said the negotiations with the US were productive and helped in making progress towards crafting a mutually beneficial and balanced agreement through achievement of early wins. Chief Indian negotiator Rajas Agrawal led the closed-door negotiations, which included discussions about increasing bilateral digital trade by improving customs and trade facilitation measures. Sources say negotiations will continue for early conclusion of the initial tranche of the trade pact. US President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had agreed in February to conclude a bilateral trade agreement by autumn 2025 and to more than double bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. The two sides are expected to sign an interim agreement by the end of the month before the expiry of Trump's 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs on major trading partners, including a 26% tariff on India, which would be devastating to Indian goods, including rice, shrimp, textiles and footwear, which together comprise nearly 1/5 of India's merchandise exports. India has pledged to eliminate TB by the end of 2025, 5 years ahead of the global target set by the World Health Organization and United Nations member states. Elimination, as defined by the WHO, means cutting new TB cases by 80% and deaths by 90%, compared with 2015 levels. Currently, India is home to 27% of the world's tuberculosis cases, where there are 2 TB-related deaths every 3 minutes. India's TB burden has long been tied to poor case detection, underfunding and erratic drug supply. TB elimination efforts were disrupted globally by the COVID pandemic, delaying diagnosis, diverting resources, and pausing routine services. Medicine shortages, staff constraints, and weakened patient monitoring have further widened the gap between ambition and reality. Despite these challenges, India has made some progress in reducing its tuberculosis-related mortality. Between 2015 and 2023, TB deaths declined from 28 to 22 per 100,000 people. This figure, however, is still high when compared with the global average, which stands at 15.5. The number of reported cases has gone up, which the government credits to its targeted outreach screening programs. In 2024, India recorded 2.6 million TB cases, up from 2.5 million in 2023. With 6 months left under India's self-imposed deadline to eradicate TB, complications have emerged with US President Trump's withdrawal from the WHO and suspension of US aid operations, raising concerns about future funding for global TB efforts. Indian students are becoming increasingly concerned about securing places to study in the US, as US President Donald Trump continues his crackdown on foreign student visas. Last month, Trump's administration asked US embassies across the world to stop scheduling appointments for student visas and expand social media vetting of applicants. This wider move followed a crackdown on America's elite universities such as Harvard, which Trump accused of being too liberal and not doing enough to combat anti-Semitism. Trump's decisions have had far-reaching repercussions in India, which sends more international students to the US than any other country. More than 1.1 million international students were enrolled in US colleges in the 2023-24 school year, with more than 330,000, nearly a third, coming from India. Indian student enrollment in the US universities, however, was slowing even before Trump's latest clampdown. According to the Indian Express newspaper, the US denied 41% of student visa applications between the fiscal years 2023 and 2024, the highest rejection rate in a decade and nearly doubling from 2014. Experts say Trump's move is a long-term rupture in a strategic relationship that benefits both countries. For decades, Indian students have helped plug a skills gap in the US, providing a significant pool of skilled professionals in sectors like biotech, healthcare, and data science. Police in India say a woman had gone missing after her husband was found brutally murdered during their honeymoon is in custody after she surrendered. The families of the couple had alleged that the bride had also either been killed or abducted and mounted a huge campaign to find her. Police now allege that Sanam Raghavanshi, 25, hired killers to murder her 30-year-old husband Raja during their trip to the tiny northeastern state of Meghalaya. 4 men have also been arrested. Raja's decomposed body was found in a gorge with his throat slit and his wallet, gold ring and a chain missing. Authorities have imposed a curfew and shut down the internet in parts of the troubled northeastern Indian state of Manipur after protests erupted over the arrest of leaders from an ethnic group. Last Sunday, police arrested 5 leaders of Arambal Tengal, an armed Meitei radical group, including their chief Asam Kanan Singh. India's top investigation agency said Singh was arrested at Manipur's Imphal airport for his involvement in various criminal activities related to the violence that broke out in the state in 2023. More than 250 people have been killed, with tens of thousands displaced over ethnic clashes between Meitei and Kuki regarding land and influence. The BJP has been sharply criticised for its handling of the conflict. And finally, a video showing an ostrich roaming the streets of the southern Indian state of Kerala went viral on social media over the weekend. The footage showed the bird navigating a street in Kochi city. The ostrich was eventually captured and taken back to its farm after its big adventure. So that's all on India this week. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you so much indeed, Charmain. And that's a lovely, lovely item that you put together. The news from India, varies things that has been going on. It's a fascinating country when you have 1.5 billion people jostling for existence. So these things are inevitable that takes place. Not to mention the bigger picture that has been going on in the background, which hardly gets reported in the newspapers, and particularly our reporters and the newscasters, Charmain and Sharad Awasthi, they rely upon the Indian newspaper as well as the BBC News. And we try to actually give you some sort of a India This Week kind of flavor. So you get to know what's going on. Of course, these days people don't really pay attention to any news whatsoever. People don't listen to television. People don't listen to radios. People don't listen to anything, and more and more people are relying on social media news networks, which are highly unreliable networks, because you don't know who these people are. They set it up as a sensationalize news item on the social media, and tuck, they're just sharing it right, left, and center on the phone. And the minute you open the phone, you're bombarded by these kind of news items. So consume it wisely. That's something that I really would like to to request our listeners. But talking about some international work, and particularly what's happening locally here in the County Ballymena in Northern Ireland, a fair bit of commotion, violence, and this time the target is the Roma community and the Filipino community. So here in Northern Ireland, as you know, that the foreign community is really in the beginning, like 20 odd years ago, when I made a television documentary called Our View, that was made for the 6 counties in the Northern Ireland. I've interviewed, the various background people from the various background, Filipinos, Chinese, Fiching, the Dr. Sikh fellow from the Altna Hospital, and a few politicians as well. And I made 4 parts, a series for Ulster Television, which Ulster Television actually took it. It was just a reaction on the peace process, the first year of the peace process, and how the peace process is panning out. And then what happened was the Omagh bombing went off, and I went off to Omagh to shoot the film, actually, the documentary from the Omagh bombing location, and it was being received very well. It's called Our View, and in that, I kind of predicted that eventually, when the peace will happen, these goons and these people who have nothing else to do but to violence will turn against the immigrant community, the community who are visibly looking different in Northern Ireland. And recently, as you know, that there's a lot of Roma community has moved through the Republic of Ireland because they couldn't get their, benefits or whatever reason. They taking advantage of the common travel area, and they moved to Northern Ireland. And the Roma community and the Filipino community are the one which are being targeted. The Filipino community is hardworking nurses, providing the social fabric of the society, and the immigrant workers literally are doing the jobs that are crucial to their economy, and that has been acknowledged by the politicians. That has been acknowledged by all the leading, the people who are in charge in at high position and politics and things like that, PSNI and everything. But somehow the other, the local community, who are these people? Why are they doing it? I mean, there has to be a reason for them to turning against, or they just don't like foreigners. They don't like the people of different nationality, regardless of the fact that these people are essential for the local economy. But that is what is happening in the county Ballymena, where the Liam Neeson comes from. And perhaps Liam Neeson should appear into his hometown in Ballymena and show his heroic presence and hold some sort of a public meeting and create some sort of a presence, show his prowess to prowess and an importance and a stardom to appeal to these people that why are you doing this in in the name of, in my county, with this, that's not acceptable. Everybody is saying this is not acceptable. And there is no reason for that. And innocent people who have nothing to do with the politique of the region, they're just there to work and live a peaceful life. That's what they're doing. And for that, they are being attacked and tackled. Anyway, that's a big question. The other question that I'd really like to talk about it, and I will be talking about in the context of the peace process and the peace itself. That's what my forte is. And this year's the 16th Indian Film Festival of Ireland's theme is the peace in the world, because in a bigger picture, and I'll talk about that, recently the remarks that have been made by our President Higgins, in his beloved Galway University, because he's staying in Galway. He's from Galway, him and very down to earth man, and his wife Sabina. They both have plans after his tenure is over this year in November as the president of of Ireland, to retire and go back to Galway and live there. And he recently had a presentation in the Galway University, and he was talking about it exactly the same thing. And let me say that now. Maybe some the other issue, I'll talk about that after the next clip. But now let me talk it through. That he said, "Or should I wait?" I think we'll wait. So here we go. Just listen to the Sharad Awasthi, who has got some news and some information about the politics, not the politics, the economics of India. What's happening? You did the last program, if you listened to it, it was about the central bank, that how Modi government has actually taken crores and crores of rupees from the central banks, which was a safety net for the country. But because central bank was making interest on foreign deposits and things like that, so that has been siphoned off to the government coffers. Anyway, listen to this, please, and see what you think of it.
Good to be here again. The World Bank has cut India's financial year 2026 growth forecast to 6.3% on weak exports. We were discussing this topic last week also, and our basis of discussion was the annual report of RBI, wherein there were many indicators about the weakness in the Indian economy as far as the fundamentals were concerned. So now the World Bank has lowered India's economic growth forecast by 40 basis points, and this will not hamper India's tag of fastest growing economy, but the growth is going to be slower. Again, we have spoken about the fallacy and the flaw in stating that GDP is the measure of growth. It is just a quantum, it's just the number, but the real growth lies in the Human Development Index, the Freedom Index, and the per capita, the money earned by each individual Indian. That's the real growth numbers, and they are not good. So therefore, feeling happy and being proud of GDP and the fourth largest economy in the world is living in fool's paradise. But that is not the alarming news we are going to talk about. There is an imminent threat to the manufacturing in India and across the world, and it is also going to hamper the global peace. So the background is, in the age of drones, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and stealth aircrafts, these important innovations, there is a strategic resource that is required, the critical minerals. And these minerals actually work as a fundamental basis for these technologies. And these technologies, as I mentioned, are defining the modern economy. Whether it is neodymium in wind turbine magnets, or gallium in semiconductors, or lithium in electric vehicle batteries, there are critical minerals, and they are absolutely essential to the functioning of all these items in this advanced economies, advanced industries. So where is the problem? China controls the lion's share of the supply chain, and this is posing a grave risk to global manufacturing, economic sovereignty, and hence global peace. Unfortunately, India stands as a stark example of how vulnerable this monopoly has created. India has ambitions to become the manufacturing hub and a global player in advanced industries, but then India's dependence on China for these critical minerals have exposed the strategic fragility. India has limited domestic reserves and very basic rudimentary processing capabilities for these minerals. And if you look at the big picture, there is a serious misalignment in the value chain that takes far too long to develop the journey of these critical minerals from the mines to the actual equipment. But then, meanwhile, China has a very strong hold on these resources and it is tightening the grip. The implication of China's domination is beyond India. 50% of the known reserves belong to China. 70% of the extraction belongs to China. And surprisingly, 90% of the processing capacity for these minerals to make it usable belongs to China. And it has used this dominance as an economic weapon. Previously, it had cut off the supply of these minerals to Japan in 2010 and now will use and is using similar tactic against India. The United States, despite its military might and technological advancements, they remain seriously dependent on China for crucial components for its defense manufacturing. So, for example, the missiles, the fighter jets, and the surveillance instruments, they all use a rare earth magnet. And these magnets are made for samarium and dysprosium. Don't go by the complicated name. We need to understand that there is something very critical in the hands of China, which is crucial for the Western military capabilities, and they are facing potential disruption. What we are discussing here is just not theoretical concern. The news is that India's auto sector has already felt the tremors. Maruti Udyog Limited, the country's largest car maker, has slashed its electric vehicle production targets by 2/3 just because of the rare earth shortages. Maruti was supposed to manufacture 26,000 units of electric vehicle and they have said they will be making only 8,000 units. But then this news is a very clear message and an alarm to the strategic policy makers of India that India cannot achieve its industrial goals and is in direct conflict with China. India had positioned itself as an alternative to China, but then strategically, India depends on everything from China, and that is what is being exploited in this case. India is also working its way out. The government has initiated exploratory projects through Geological Survey of India and had auctioned rare earth blocks in Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. There are public sectors like IREL and institutions like BARC. They are developing rare earth processing technologies. All that is good. There are some private players also like Vedanta and Midwest, but then all these takes time. We need these rare earth now, as of yesterday. Typically, a mining project takes about 10 to 15 years to become operational because there is a complex issue of licensing, exploration, environmental clearances, land acquisitions. So 10 to 15 years to start a mine. And then we are talking about processing, which takes 5 to 10 years to set up a technology to extract those minerals. And then further into production when these rare earth elements go, that would take another 2 to 3 years. So there is a clear misalignment in what the economists would term as market coordination failure. Therefore, the investors are hesitant to commit any capital at any stage of this supply chain. Broadly, if I conclude this part of the complex argument, if we need the component now, it is going to be available only after 15 years. Therefore, the situation is alarming, and this mismatch is going to affect India's security, India's industrial complex, India's strategic outlook to the world. For the moment, India can look out for strategic partnerships with Japan, Australia, and United States, looking for these critical minerals, in a way looking for partners who are not doing well with China. But then that can only be a stopgap arrangement. The Japanese were smart, so they were able to stockpile their reserves after their tussle with China in 2010, and they started to invest in countries like Vietnam, Kazakhstan. So that is the path India also needs to take. Australia can be an important partner because it is home to some 55 million tons of these rare earth reserves. But then all this will take time while our companies like Maruti Udyog are sitting with unsold electric vehicles and disruptive automotive sector. That's at least we know now. From the geopolitical perspective, India could have done better with Myanmar, which has rare earth mines, but then China has been ahead in the game, and Myanmar supplies 40% of China's rare earth supply. So we have lost strategically with our could-be partners with Myanmar. Similarly, there are cases of cobalt reserves in Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa, as well as Madagascar, which has graphite and nickel, which is crucial for electric vehicles as far as the battery technologies are concerned. But then again, we know that China has deep-rooted relationships with the African countries. And that is the tricky situation we are in. If you look at the recent past, China's weaponization of critical minerals is actually looking to be deliberate, strategic, and it is making a lot of sense. It had already disrupted supply chains, it has hampered technological progress, is putting a lot of pressure on the Taiwanese chip manufacturing industry, and has exposed consequential vulnerabilities in defense sector across the globe. So there is this economic coercion which is visible from the China side due to its economic dominance and now the rare earth deposit domination. There is a piece of history and a learning there. Western nations once held the power in these critical minerals, but then it gave it away in pursuit of short-term profit, market gains, capitalism, and they shut down mines and processing units which they deemed unviable. But then China, on the other hand, took a very long-term view and they subsidized processing to gain control of this mining industry. India too had been slow and sluggish in the mining sector, and now we are paying the price. So what's the road ahead for India? It's time to wake up. It's an alarm to the security of India, to the industrial growth of India. India must immediately come out with clarity of vision, a strategic coordination with countries like Japan and Australia, and make a softer handshake with China. Ultimately, they are our neighbors forever. The government of India must put together a concerted effort of engineers, geologists, industrialists, diplomats to work specifically to resolve the rare earth issue. If we continue to fight for the privatization and the government assets, there is going to be serious consequences in short term itself. The auto sector is in pressure. Our dreams of making a defense industrial complex is shifting towards red, and this is not the time to debate and discuss self-interest. This is a question of national security, technological sovereignty, and geopolitical autonomy. One thing is clear, as the digital and the electric age unfolds, whosoever controls the supply of critical minerals controls the pace and the direction of global progress. If India has to be a manufacturing hub, it has to stand tall and strong at this hour of crisis. It has to recognize that this is a crisis. The writing is on the wall. With those thoughts about the urgency and the alarming rate at which China has been dominating, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, and dutifully ask questions. Bye for now.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read, or hear, but now there's help. Visit www.bmediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Welcome back to the program. And indeed, that is the state of affair with the China and India and economy and all that. That if really India wants to make go ahead with that, that's inevitable for India to pay attention to all of these things. But there you go. I mean, there are some other concerns. People are concerned with other things and things like that. So troubled times when it comes to the economy of the nation. But individuals are making progress. Individuals are doing well. And the economy is not as strong as it's supposed to be. But people are resilient, entrepreneur in their blood, entrepreneur in their DNA, should I say. And I might have some sort of a surprise, actually, this coming festival, whereby a group of business people, almost about 30 people, under the the aegis of an interesting organization that has been put together in India by some business people. They have actually expressed their interest to come out and to go around the world and to make it much more noise when it comes to business and things like that. So they are sort of like a targeting Europe, particularly UK, and they call themselves a Bharat Business Global Network, BBGN, Bharat Business Global Network. Who are they, Bharat Business Global Network? They go around the world, yoga fitness for you, Bharat 𝐺𝐻𝐻 Samman, the airwalks, the fashion industry, the EduCon, the education industry, and then you also have a Medicon, the medical industry. All of that as an honorary doctorate. They literally people, they make up that, and they go around the world. Particularly, they're coming to Europe actually, coming to UK, Scotland, London, and Scotland, and they might attend the the 16th Indian Film Festival of Ireland in the context of their mission, whatever their mission is, to make it happen in Ireland, or forge some relationship with the businesses or explore. I would put down to a fact-finding mission. Sometime, the government sends these kind of delegations, but this is an independent delegation. This is not a government design, but there are some crucial people in it, some high-profile individuals and things like that. So they're coming over, and they might be able to sort of enjoy the festivity of the film festival, and at the same time have a great tourism aspect by visiting the Dublin and all that, and get the benefit of their travel. But before that, I would have promised you to talk about the peace initiative that has been taken over this summer by my initiative, and also it'll continue to the festival. The peace in the world. Why? Because Ukrainian war is actually draining the economy of Europe, economy of Ireland, economy of every country. And, picking up the fight with Putin is not going to help Zelensky to win that war. That has been said by many, many intellectuals around Europe and things like that. But on the contrary, what else is happening is to counterbalance that, the weapon industry across the pond, and which has been criticized by our, wonderful president, Michael D. Higgins, in his lecture. I was talking earlier on, and to make a continuity with that is that thought. What is happening? 1.5 billion pound has been invested in making drones and sophisticated drones. And the statement of Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is that, we shall be making a much more lethal drones. Hello, lethal for what? For whom? For humanity? War doesn't achieve anything. Yes, it could be a defensive measure, and detrimental to make it sort of like a defense mechanism to say that we are making a more lethal drones by investing 1.5 billion pound sterling to making the sophisticated drone. It's not a very proud statement, to make in the press, and rightly so. Our Michael D. Higgins our president, have criticized that you're not going to, instead of cutting it down on the war machinery, you are going back into boosting the war machinery and making it, of course, because everybody's nervous the way things are going, the way the Russian war is shaking up the tape, taking up the shape and all that. That is making people nervous because they are at the edge of our nations, European nation, Moldova, Poland. All of these people are very much close to Russia, to Ukraine. All of that is and we are, in Ireland, not too far from that. So that's something which is very, very disturbing. And I am concerned with that fact that European, day before yesterday, there was another big article about that, how massive Russian attack on Ukraine, on Kyiv, has actually destroyed so many houses and killed so many people. So this killing people, destroying houses, destroying nations must stop. There must be some sort of a peace parliament. Let's go beyond a couple of steps and establish here in Ireland, perhaps, a peace parliament, and whereby all nations, because United Nations is no good to me, to be honest with you. Years and years ago, there was a play called Map of the World, and I talked about that in in the program, one of the programs a few months ago. The Map of the World by David Hare was critical about the formation of United Nations and the spineless, because look what happened recently. I mean, the mechanism by which the United Nations operates, the United States have obstructed the voting for stopping the war in Palestine. On one hand, they are bombing it. They're continuing to destroy the entire civilization, entire nation of Palestinian people by keep bombing the destitute people, women, children, men who are starving, and using starvation as a weapon for eliminating the entire country, the entire nation. Now, that has been, United Nations wants to pass the resolution to stop immediately the war and stop bombing it. Who obstructed? United Nations. U.S. Has actually the permanent member of the United Nations. So that structure is faulty structure. You have to come up with the new structure, somehow the new structure which would not have the same as United Nations. And for that reason, let me mention this point, that why the New York is the headquarter of the United Nations. Why not the United Nations should be divided between the various continents of the world, Japan, China, European continent, Asia, should have separate secretariat of United Nations. And indeed, then the people locally should be making it. I mean, we live in a global world, global village, technologically, electronically, globally we are connected. So why not we create something like that, whereby the monopoly of the United States of America, who, by the way, are the least contributors, they don't pay the bills, by the way, to United Nations because they think, oh well, it's here, it's our home. So what So all of that is culminating on the issue of a critic putting a huge question mark on the existence of United Nations. David Hare, in that play, the stage play that he wrote years and years ago, wrote that, and he says that United Nations is a place of lie. It's an organization suffocating in its own bureaucracy, and the mechanism by which it operates is totally failure and must be stopped. Obviously, they come up after Second World War just to create a peace in the world. But look what happens in the presence of United Nations. Is there any peace in the world? Huh, it's a joke. Anyway, enough is enough. I will take a track and I will be playing some sort of a songs. So sit back, relax, and enjoy these songs. This is another classic songs that we are playing tonight, and we're staying with the old is gold. And before I play the next song, there's a couple of songs that I've been sort of selecting it to play today. I would like to talk about this contemporary phenomena of, shooting reels and uploading it on your phone. People has been doing that for some reason, and for some reason, for the people from India, are particularly the women, are just for some reason, perhaps they're they're looking for attention or contacts or some sort of a reason for. And the other thing is, but uninvited people contacting you. If you are a celebrity, if you are somebody who has a decent presence on cyberspace, as I am, I do get enormous amount of sort of like a unanimous hi there, hello, how you doing? I mean, who are you? Why are you doing it? I mean, why? And if you respond, then they'll try to bring you back onto the WhatsApp, and it starts from the messengers and all that. So you've got to be very careful with who you connect with, because then it could lead to some sort of trap, and you get trapped into their things. The more you do the conversation with them, and sometimes they're using the false account of stars, hero, heroine, or the film stars and actors and actresses. That's abominable. That's really is gross, grotesque kind of behavior. But what kind of a mind these people have, where they're actually trying to actually reach out? They have nothing else to do. They've got an expensive mobile phone in their hands, and they're sitting at home, perhaps unemployed, not doing much, not professionals. These are the cheap people who are doing all of that kind of thing. So if it's happening to you, or I'm just flacking it, that if it happened, block them straight away and keep them away as much as possible. So I regularly do block them, but then they keep coming. So obviously they're talking about it, surfacing the net. Oh, this person so and so is. Anyway, I thought I'd bring this subject by the by, because that's the kind of world we live in these days. Phone is something, since you go to bed or right up to the point you get up in the morning and you take the phone and you go to the toilet. And when you take the phone and go to the toilet, there's no urgency. There's no reason for you taking the phone, because this is what I've been following and reading about it, that people are getting obsessed with messages, with communication. I mean, no communication is as important as your own well-being, because that is not healthy, not for your eyes, not for your thing. And sitting on the loo, that's another thing. Sitting on the loo for too long while you're actually, finished with loo, but you are scrolling, you are sitting on the phone and you're doing that. That has to be checked, and that has to be criticized. For those people who who are unwittingly, not knowing the fact that it could harm you badly, can do that. So, if you are one of those people, please don't do that, because it'll affect your health. That's all I can say. Because these people don't understand. These are young people, and they will do anything to trap you in with messages, with the flowery language or whatever. Very quickly, you would know their level of intelligence when you start communicating with them, one or two messages, and then you would know who they are and why they're doing it. They recently, hijacking other people's account is, I don't understand why they can, how can they do that? But obviously they can do that, because this is what the technology allows you to do it. There's so many things which you don't know. You have a phone in your hand, but you don't know how those sort of things work. So be careful. And anyway, I thought, by the by, I'll mention this point. So now, another song, and hopefully you like this particular song.
झूलना झुलाए जाओ सावन की आई है बहार झूले से मेरा प्यार सखी झूलना झुलाए जाओ सावन की आई है झूलना में झूलो गुइया सब कुछ भूल के झूलना में झूलो गुइया सब कुछ भूल के कभी गोरी देख जरा पिया संग झूल के कभी गोरी देख जरा पिया संग झूल के पिया संग झूल के ओ नैनों में आएगा खुमार झूलूंगी सौ सौ बार सखी झूलना झुलाए जाओ सावन की आई है बहार झूले से मेरा प्यार सखी झूलना झुलाए जाओ सावन की आई है गोरी गोरी बैलों का झूलना बनाऊं मैं गोरी गोरी बैलों का झूलना बनाऊं मैं नजरों की डोर डालूं सैया को झुला
Yeah, that's it. And the time is up, and I would like you to listen to another song that I would have selected it for today. But today, as program was assisted by Lee Brennan and here in the studio. And of course, our thanks to the contributors, Charmain Colvin and Sharad Awasthi, who is from London, talking about the various important element of our economy in India. And of course, we try our best to get you the sort of like a vivid picture of what's going on back home in India. And that's your own Apna radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. We also have our own YouTube channel. So if you missed this program live, which I try to tell other people that it goes live on Thursday, this Thursday, which is every Thursday, it goes live from 3 to 4 p.m. locally, and of course 7:30 to 8:30 in India time. You can always catch up on the YouTube channel, and that is Apna Dublin Radio program. So you can just type Apna Dublin Radio, and you'll get my channel there. So subscribe, like, and share, and that's what will increase our listeners. So that's it, and I would like you to listen to one last song. मैं तुम संग नैना मिला के हार गई सजना. So देखो सजना हार गई.
मैं तो तुम संग नैन मिला के हार गई